r/AskReddit. Women, what do you find most confusing about men? This used to confuse the hell out of me, and I had several non-relationships with guys who were very affectionate, tender, and intimate with me, even spending time together outside the bedroom, but still only wanted a casual thing. I eventually realized that none of that stuff really means anything in terms of furthering the relationship. It doesn't mean he doesn't care about you, or that he doesn't like being around you, or that there's anything wrong with you. In fact, he might even genuinely love you. But if he doesn't ask you to be exclusive and have a real relationship with you, then he either doesn't want one with you, or he doesn't want one with anyone. If he did want this, and was emotionally available for this, he would tell you. The fact that he has feelings for you, you get on, you have amazing chemistry etc. is actually irrelevant if you don't want the same things. That is, if you don't both want a serious relationship. It's no one's fault. No one is obliged to want to commit to you. And you are not obliged to spend time with someone who has made it clear that they don't want commitment. You can't change someone or their behavior, and trying or hoping for this is a recipe for sadness. Also, perhaps ask yourself why you want someone who isn't sure about you. Hold out for someone who is sure. You can't make someone commit to you, nor should you want to. Men are, on the whole, very straightforward in this regard. There are no mixed messages. Either he, in a reasonable time frame, steps up and asks you to be his girlfriend, or he doesn't. My life got a whole lot simpler when I worked this out. My partner's reluctant to go to his prostate examination. I've impelled, inveigled, even implored him to attend, but to no avail, because he said the procedure is invasive and undignifying. The man is so obstinate that when I've even googled and expounded in explicit details about what happens, he refuses to change his mind and go. What can I do to make this matter more palatable to him? I've offered to go with him and he declined. I've tentatively asked if anything happened before, if something heinous happened to him in the past, but he assured me that he's never been sexually assaulted. There was no prior abuse during his childhood. He will divulge all information about anything I ask, but he just won't attend. I asked if it's our specific doctor, and I said I'd request a different doctor if he was inhibited or intimidated, but no, he's completely tolerant of our current doctor. Presumptuously, I even asked if it's due to homosexual connotations. He said no. I even alluded to any dormant bisexual feelings he might be repressing, and he told me to stop being silly. It's okay. He was apprised of my bisexuality during the nascent stages of our relationship, so I implied I'm accepting. He made a derisive remark and continued to be irreverent. Nope. Nothing. Nada. He just doesn't want the exam. He has no apprehension about cancer, no symptoms, and now his mother is even admonishing me for being intrusive. He has no debilitating fear of hospitals. He's lost no family members to cancer. What the fuck is the matter? There's a huge difference in the way men and women look at and compliment their own gender. Women often say they dress to impress other women, so narrowly it seems women have a support system built around this and are very comfortable talking about such things. Men tend to compliment each other based more on things they like, rather than how it makes another man look. Women also, in my experience, tend to take the extra step of consciously connecting their compliments to the person they are talking to. Female example, hey Betty, that's a cute top. It goes great with that skirt. Male example, hey man, nice Star Wars shirt. I love that movie. This is obviously just a general example, and not a one-size-fits-all blanket statement. Reply to edit. I understand what you meant, and you're 100% correct that there's a difference, but I was taking you to the root cause to show you why men tend to avoid that behavior. We generally gravitate more towards talking about shared interests. Talking about each other's looks is considered effeminate, unless it's about gaining muscle mass, or poking fun at each other's beer gut or something. Lots of men don't actively engage in the same sort of thinking on their day-to-day. It's something that guys end up thinking is weird/awkward to talk about, and those with a certain ego may try to avoid it because my masculinity, or we don't care and don't wanna talk about it because we simply don't care. I'm sure we can also say that a small part of it is due to the openness of gay men, and some straight men not wanting to mirror that behavior, even if it's not them initiating it. Edit. Formatting. I was working at a place for a while that was a small team. We were all overseas and didn't know anyone else. A new guy joined the team, he moved there and we started hanging out. Great guy, everyone loved him. We all spent a lot of time together because we didn't know anyone else. Then a few weeks later his wife finished the move and joined us. We'd hang out with him and his wife all the time. After a couple weeks of this, one time he was out with the group and someone asked him why his wife doesn't like any of us. Why is she always sort of upset to be around us? He told us she has RBF. Resting bitch face. Her resting face looks like an upset face. He said she does like us and she has a good time. I'm a guy and I think I also have rest bitch face. People have told me they don't talk to me because they think I'm upset. I've learned to think about smiling in the same way you think about saying hello or just being polite. It's a way to communicate a message. It's also a way to have a positive effect on someone else's day. There have also been some interesting studies that show smiling more actually makes you more happy. Saying smile more is a sort of shitty way of encapsulating those ideas into a small piece of unsolicited advice. It baffles me how most men deal with their emotions. Or more realistically how they don't deal with their emotions. People will say it's a cultural thing and society has made them believe they have to shove their emotions down, so they don't know how to show them. But women can't even do that. If most women shoved their emotions down instead of dealing with them through talking or journaling, we would have a mental break in a week. My husband and I recently went through a loss of a baby. His way of dealing with it is to just never talk about him. Anytime I say our son's name he tenses up and changes the subject. He's been supportive of me and I know he is hurting, but I just don't understand how he can push all of that grief down and never talk through it with anyone. As a husband who almost lost a son, I hope you both are able to work through this and able to grieve. I can only imagine the tears he has shed in private and the hurt/loss/anger he is feeling. We do deal with it, just differently and normally not with a woman. With women we feel the need to be strong, to be a rock for you, so you can have a sense of stability. The way he sees it, most likely, is that if he breaks down in front of you, that you will absolutely lose it, and he doesn't want that for you. It's a defense mechanism, to protect those we love. If he doesn't have another man in his life, who he can be vulnerable with, then please help him in finding one or just suggesting it. He needs someone who he can let it out with. I hope you both the best, and I'm here if you or him need to talk. Well, by our man's standards the topic here is nothing special, therefore the reply requires no deeper thought. You had a hard day at work. Everybody has those, and often too. Reminiscing or thinking too deeply about it is like thinking deeply about why a certain day is cold or rainy. Also, men generally focus more on solving the problem than being compassionate about it. In your example, guy 1 already has came up with the solution and states it. I'm eating pizza. Guy 2, you just tag along for company. Whereas the girl also wants pizza, but is waiting for the guy to read her mind about it. Meanwhile, the guy sees the problem as mediocre, and also the solution isn't clear. Could be Chinese food, could be stay at home, could be go to a burger joint. So evaluating the average nature of the problem and the lack of a clear solution from the girl, the guy concludes she just shared info of her day. She did not request nor state a specific solution. Status of the conversation is junk information. I'll humor you with a good story. One time I was regularly going to the gym. During this phase of my life I was training to join the USAF, hoping to procure an occupation within the intelligence field. One day, I went over, not to work out. It was during a rest day and I wanted to cancel my plan that I signed on with a nutritionist/fitness trainer, seeing I was only working retail at the time, making minimum wage, and was going through my freshman year of college. I ended up meeting a guy while I was outside waiting for my ride. I was dropped off since it was raining and was told that I'd get picked up once my mom finished running errands to help my brother W something. I was reading a book, and when I really get invested in a book, I'm the type to be completely unaware of my surroundings. The poor guy kept coming up to me to apologize for being unable to help me with what I initially came in for. I knew it wasn't his fault, so I just kept reassuring him, saying things like, "Oh, it's okay. It's not your fault," or "It's alright. I can always get it sorted out another time." This poor guy approached me over 10 times while I was reading. and I legitimately didn't even notice what was happening because I was reading. The book was Marcus Zusak's book Thief, and I was really enjoying it. Finally, after approaching me for what had to have been the 12th or 13th time, he introduced himself. Later on, it became a mutual thing, and one time I was just simple admiring how he looked while he was leaning against the railing of a staircase while he was talking to a coworker on the first floor. During mid-conversation, he turned to look at me and he legitimately fell down the platform. I kid you not, this guy gets up and sprints down those stairs farther than I've ever seen anyone ever move in my entire life. I didn't even get to ask him if he was okay anyway. Just a small applaud to the men out there trying. Keep trying. Lol. It's not like I'm mad. And no, not projecting. My personality is all about making others happy or making others laugh. I diffuse awkward or tense situations by joking. I'm antisocial and awkward in conversations with strangers or people I do not know well. So to avoid me stumbling over words, being obviously nervous to the other, or getting bright red because I don't know what to say, I always turn to joking. Approaching and initiating conversation is a part of my job in order to get paid, so I've learned joking breaks the ice. Joking makes me and the stranger speaking to me while working both relax and not nervous or weird. It's just me. None of the above impacted me or my day. Lol, I just found it really odd that so many thought I was being serious, speaking from experience, and that it reflected my true feelings. I guess my circle of family and friends are just different because everyone's responses, or I should say the amount of similar stated responses, is not at all what I was trying to produce and not what I expected. Long story short, it threw me for a loop and I found it hilarious. Also, found it interesting that I felt people's reactions may have been some sort of judgment of what they thought I was like, possibly based on my photo. Because attracting a mate requires both opportunity and significant social skills. Not only do you need a lifestyle that allows you to meet large quantities of interesting women in a relaxed social context, and shall we talk about social privilege here, but you need to turn on the interpersonal skills to generate attraction. You need to project just the right amount of socially awesome penguin, with charisma, friends, interesting interests, fun conversation, maybe some kind of talent, good looks, and a certain amount of status display. You need to both bring your A game to looks like a catch, while simultaneously making the person you're interested in feel like they're a catch too, while simultaneously trying to impress you back. If you've got all the required ingredients to make this happen, life is easy. If you're some lonely guy who's nothing special to look at, lives a rather isolated life at some shitty job around the same 3 boring people all day, come home tired, have shit self-esteem, are somewhat introverted, and never had the socialization to pick up the charisma or friends required, then life is much harder. Hooray, you can go down to some shitty bar alone. You see a bunch of women talking, you try to break the ice, and get sent off with a flea in your ear. Rinse and repeat. You look at the guys who do have success, and they look like a bunch of doucher bags. Your socialization spirals downwards, your charisma gutters out, you're lonely as fuck, but not allowed to express sadness without being shamed for it, so the closest you can get is bitterness. This isn't what you signed up for. Everything you were shown all your life was that there was someone for everyone, that nobody needs to be lonely, that a bit of bloody warmth and companionship in your life wasn't a hopeless dream reserved for the top 10% of guys. And that bitterness feeds on itself. The whole game seems rigged. The things people actually seem to want don't seem to match up with what they say they want, and so you start chalking that up as dishonesty and hypocrisy. You start to see the building attraction dance as a superficial, rigged, shitty system that's only there to rip people off. You maybe manage to attract 1 or 2 people in your life, but they turn out to be horrible people, because anyone with options would choose virtually anyone else. Your experiences with horrible people feed into the bitterness, and you say fuck it, you'll give up on the warmth and companionship and love you wanted in your life, because it's not just a hopeless dream, it's actually a lie. You'll never be able to get anywhere playing genuinely. Perhaps you can at least game the shit out of the system for sex if nothing else. So you get into the whole poor thing, utterly cynically, like Barney Stinson without the funny or the charm or the anything. You practice shitty alpha moves to try and cock block women into sleeping with you. You do the strategic shoulder touch, you nag, you get pushy, you do all these things that like-minded people tell you women actually want, and you're still shit out luck because you've still got less nuanced likability and social grace than a llama with Asperger's and toothache. As every last hope of ever coming out on top topples into the flaming wreckage, all that's left is anger. Anger at the whole shitty rigged system, and at the people who spend their whole lives fending off the only thing they've ever wanted and will never get. I'm not it, but I get it. Do I get it? It could have been me. It could have been just about anyone. All you need is a shitty start in life, and everything slowly goes to hell from there. Edit, typus. Plenty of media, movies, TV shows, etc. has the guy doing absolutely everything in his power to get the girl. Accepting the first rejection thrown out by the girl is portrayed as the guy giving up, therefore showing weakness in the guy and or how little he cares about the girl. The girl wants to be longed for, right? Even my wife will sometimes hate it whenever I simply do what she says. It's a constant mind game between fighting for her, aka showing how much I care, vs simply doing what she actually wants me to do. For example, I'll often have to double and triple check with her that she actually wants alone time, or if she wants me to keep pushing to make sure she's feeling okay. Leaving her alone at her first word would seem like I don't care about how she feels and just want to be done with the argument, since I can forgive and forget much easier, but a double check reveals that she actually wants to talk about it. Of course, all men and women are somewhat different. Some men won't take no for an answer simply to get in your pants for a night, but my experience comes from dating my high school sweetheart for 5 years and currently being married to her for another 3. It's common for men to claim women play games when it comes to dating or hookups, but in my experience as a B-woman I've found that men are just as guilty of this if not more. I'm a pretty straightforward person and have never understood tricks like playing hard to get / leaving the terms of a relationship unclear without good reason / acting detached or inconsistent just to gain the upper hand. I'm especially clear when I just want casual sex, and yet most men still seem skittish of this, sometimes at their own expense, not replying when I booty call them, coming on to me, and then getting weird when I reciprocate interest, etc. It appears that, no matter how transparent I am, many assume I have the ulterior agenda of trapping them into an exclusive relationship, which I find both egotistic and hilarious. I've talked to this at length with some female friends and we've concluded that the only reason we play games is because we feel pressure to buy our male partners. If we don't, we are judged for our directness, no matter it is we are expressing, be it the possibility of romantic interest or a desire to keep things casual. It's all rather confusing when you've heard countless men in your life complain that they wish women were clear about what they want, as if they are the sole actors responsible for overcomplicating the dating scene. I know there are women who do play games because they feel like it, but many of us seem to feel trapped into doing so. Men often fail to recognize that, due to social norms / patriarchy etc., they hold the majority of the power when it comes to deciding the boundaries of their interactions with women, and this can obligate women to act in a way that caters to this power imbalance by being indirect or ambiguous. TLDR, most women know what they want. We just face negative social sanctions for expressing it. Why do some of you just hit up random girls to ask if they're single? Do you just not care about our personalities at all? Are you that desperate for a relationship? At the 3 men who have asked me to convert to Islam and become their brides in their home countries, why? Is it because I'm blonde, young, or would you really just marry anything with a hole and ovaries? In my experience, guys are super hot when it comes to relationships. I'll be casually dating them for a week when they're telling me I'd die for you, I'd abandon all of my friends and family just to be yours, we are going to have the most beautiful kids, let's travel the world and leave this town behind, life would become existing without you. It's super off-putting. We are in our late teens, it isn't that deep. I once had a guy tell me when I broke up with him that he would build a time machine so he could go back to the first week of our relationship, kidnap me and keep me to himself, because back then I still knew how much he needed and cared for me. Maybe I just really know how to pick him. Edit, I'm getting the you're probably attractive / how attractive are you thing quite a bit. I'd give myself maybe a the 6th of May 10. Blonde hair, green eyes, 5 feet 6, slim-ish build but certainly not skinny. Take from that what you will, I guess. When they won't / don't tell you what's wrong / bothering them. Granted, some days they are just quiet, but when they being not their usual selves. Hello guys, we know you're not right. We care, we want to help, just talk to us. Yeah? I'm sure you realize that the reasons for this will vary from person to person, incident to incident, and is by no means limited to men. However, personally I feel I struggle to talk to people when something is wrong for a few main reasons. I haven't had much experience in talking about emotions / feelings nor in really confronting them personally, and therefore there's a chance I don't even really know what is bothering me or how to bring it up. Due to the different nature of my friendships, as opposed to the nature of a stereotypical female friend network, I'm not likely to have someone else to talk to about these problems. Hence, when asked I will be surprised, unprepared, embarrassed, and likely not wanted well, assuming that less time devoted to a depressing subject would be better for us all. There's a societal stigma for men and emotions that is gradually changing, but most men will instinctively think to not regard some factor considered weakness in themselves, instead choosing to win through attrition. On top of all that, not being very good at something makes you uncomfortable and less likely to engage in it. Being uncomfortable is no reason to not open discourse with us, but it's certainly another layer of discomfort that makes it hard to communicate effectively. NB, I realize that a lot of this explanation is just detailing that I'm not particularly good at talking over sensitive things, and I know these things can be improved upon. I'm not trying to justify, but explain why it can be difficult, and not some power play or something. It's not just a matter of pointing your thing at a target. There are many factors involved, many of which aren't identifiable until after the peeing has commenced, and some of which we can do little about anyhow. Imagine you have a section of garden hose in your hand with no nozzle on the end. The exit end is not a perfect circle. In fact, it's not circular at all. It's a slit, and it can only be minimally reshaped at will through pinching / varying the external pressure that's applied to the hose end. The hose itself is limp right now because there's nothing flowing through it, but in a moment, there will be. You point the output end toward the toilet in preparation. Okay, here it comes. You hear a voice tell you. After an impossible to predict amount of time passes, a stream of warm clear yellow liquid emerges. But it's a stronger flow than you'd anticipated, and as the hidden internal tube and tiny exit hole is a fixed size, the force of the flow this time is far greater than usual, and the stream of warm liquid gold shoots well beyond the planned target. You adjust your aim. All seems good, for now. But as the bladder empties, the pressure behind the flow subsides, and what had moments ago been a laser of a stream now becomes an arc. You have to adjust your aim again. It shoots out at an unexpected angle. Yes, holding the hose properly and pointing it toward the target is no guarantee that that is where the pus stream is roughly going to end up. We can use all our years' experience to prepare ourselves to combat this problem, but until it starts to come out, we are powerless to predict what will happen once the flow starts. It shoots out at many unexpected angles. If it weren't so annoying, it might even be a cool party trick, but yeah, sometimes the stream that emerges is multidirectional in any random number of substreams, each at an equally unpredictable angle and strength. We might even have a near perfect mainstream with 1, 2, 3 or more little mist streams emitting at as much as 90 degrees to the target. How do you adjust for that? How do you correct that? You can try manual manipulation of the hose end, but there's no guarantee that will improve things and a good chance it will make things worse. It sputters out in a weak arc, falling short of the intended target. As you move forward to compensate or try to straighten out the hose in order to get more distance to the flow, the pathetic dribble suddenly becomes a raging torrent, relatively speaking. Now you've overcompensated. You've soaked well beyond where you were aiming. On top of all these issues, even if we do an otherwise perfect pee, we've got splashback to worry ourselves about if we don't want to hear about it later. Droplets of water in the bowl splash out onto the surrounding floor due to the force of the stream from the hose, which in turn is in large part due to the great height from which it came. This can be mitigated by adjusting a vane to the rear or sides of the bowl, but few men, if any, have ever determined what the ideal spot is, and it would vary from toilet to toilet anyway, and to the strength of the flow each particular time, which again is impossible to predict. And I won't go into it, but in previous pee threads on Reddit, I learned that some men think piss trickling down their leg is a normal thing. It's not, or shouldn't be. Now, as a man, I will say that some of us are more aware of our bodies than others. Some of us are more observant than others. Some of us are more considerate than others. And some of us do the cleaning too, even if that's as needed spot/drip with puke immediately after. So some of us take measures to minimize the problem. Always sit in the morning when the bladder is likely to be full, or for the first piss after ejaculating semen, as that can block the pipes and cause mayhem. But we are men. We were designed to piss standing up. But we are not perfect, and it's not our fault. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe the channel.